Hello everyone, Amanda here, thanks for joining me. So Sunday is my napkin journal day, when I get to be arty for the sake of it in my little handmade journal. So I do have a video on how to create the signatures for my napkin journal. Once I finish one signature, I will make the cover and then make another signature. So I do have a video on that, and the link will be in the video, but in the description box below. Oh dear me, honestly, nothing's gone right today, as you'll see when we get towards the end. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some dictionary paper on each corner, because I want the napkin to go across the centre, the central reservation as it were. In hindsight, I would have been better just covering the entire page with dictionary paper, but you live and learn, and next time I decide I want this effect, I will just cover the entire page. But it does mean that I haven't had to gesso underneath, because the matte medium that I'm using over the top of that book page will protect it. I don't need to use gesso to protect my book. It'll be fine. I do add gesso later on to tone down the colours of the writing there, so we're just adding that on. I like using dictionary paper, and I will, when I'm choosing them from my charity shop, I will check the thickness of the pages and make sure that they're very, very thin, almost like tissue. And they are just as thin, as near enough as thin as the napkins themselves. So it's nice, you get a nice layering effect, so it's not like it's bulky book pages, and they adhere beautifully with the gel matte medium. Okay. So once I've got all that down, I'll bring in my napkin. Well, no, I'm going to dry it off. Then I'm going to bring in my napkin and decide which part I want on my journal. It's quite a big napkin and it's quite fussy. It's almost too fussy for me, and I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to pull it off. But as you'll see at the end, it comes together beautifully and does give me a lovely page. So it just goes to show that you should push yourself to try and create with what you've got, and not worry, and just see what the results are. So as you can see, it's quite a big print, so I'm just having a look, seeing which way I want it, and I've decided I'm going with that like orangey coloured rose to the top. Now you can take out the parts that you want using a fine paintbrush and some water. I find it just easier to just cut it. I don't have the patience. I don't have the patience to do it carefully. So I end up hacking into it and trying to get rid of as much of that white as possible, so that the napkin then blends into the page nicely. Makes your job easier if you can get it to, if you can cut away as much of the background as possible. It makes blending easier. So I'm going to again add my gel medium, starting down the centre of the page, just trying to decide which way up I want it really, so that it'll fit. I've got small gaps top and bottom where I've misjudged the spacing, but I'll just fill that in with some more dictionary paper. It doesn't matter, it's fine. So what I do is I'll get it where I want it and then tap it into the middle, and then lift it up, put some gel medium under, and then smooth it over. Now I do find that I quite often rip the napkins. There you go, I've ripped it at the top there. That's probably because I'm a little heavy-handed, and probably my brush, because I use the same brushes for everything, maybe need a dedicated decoupaging brush that maybe needs to be wider and softer. So I'll have to have a look for one of those. I'll just go to my local art shop and get a wide paintbrush, a wide soft paintbrush that's good quality, because if you look after them and clean them, they'll last you a long time. If you get cheap paintbrushes, they don't last very long, and then you're just buying them over and over and over again. But if you look after them, if you look after your tools, then they will last. So that's blending in quite nicely. There's just a small gap at the bottom there where I can still see that white page, and it's really bothering me. And it's at this stage where I think to myself, why were I trying to be fancy? Why didn't I just put the book page all the way across? but you live and learn. Next time, like I say, I'll know. So I pulled out a bit more napkin, and then I decided, no, instead of filling it in with the napkin, I'm going to fill it in with the book page, because I don't want the napkin going any further over. So that's what we do. By the time that we've gessoed around the edge of the napkin to kind of like disguise that it's being added on and try and make it part of the page and merge in, then you can't see these bits that I've added in. You can't even notice them. So don't worry, if you make a mistake, you can always rectify it, just glue something over the top. So I'm just going to dry it off absolutely to make sure it's fully dry, so that then I can trim off around the edges. If it's not fully dry, you'll struggle to trim it, because obviously it's wet, and there's nothing harder to cut than wet tissue or wet napkin. So make sure it's fully dry, and then it will make it far easier for you to trim round. I think that's gone on really nicely. I've got a nice focal point there going across my page. I'm quite happy with how it's turning out, this napkin journal. I'm really enjoying it. We'll be ready for making the covers soon, so make sure you come and watch me every Sunday. We might do the covers next week, because I'm getting to the end of this signature now. I think I've only got another, yeah, I've just got one more double spread, and then the back page and the front page, and I've done this one. So it's time to make the covers. So there we go, trimming off with my huge scissors that look like they're for wallpapering. I've got no kind of happy medium with scissors. I've either got great big massive ones or little tiny itty bitty ones. Scissors are the bane of my life. I can never find good ones, but it can be a bit fiddly as well, because the journal covers quite narrow, the journal pages, I beg your pardon, are narrow, and my scissors are too big. That's why you see me kind of like faffing about, for want of a better word. But you can see there that even though I'm putting layers over layers, none of the pages underneath are getting spoiled, so that's good. It means I'm doing something right. So now I'm going to dry brush, and this is my favourite way of putting gesso on. I just use a big old bristler paintbrush, a decorating cheap paintbrush, and just dab my gesso on, and then dab it off on a scrap piece of paper and dry brush. I find that gives me a nice effect. Well, I think it does. So first of all, I'm concentrating on going around the edge of the napkin to try and blend it in. So I will go in with my finger and smudge that gesso further before it dries, just to try. What we're doing is we're just trying to blending in the napkin into the book page, so that you can't see any harsh edges. And yeah, I think it's easier to do it with your finger than with anything else, to be honest. Maybe a little sponge dauber. But yeah, there's no better tools than your own hands. So then I'm just going to continue to do a bit more dry brushing to tone down some of the text, and also to just protect that paper a little bit, because I'm going to be putting some modelling paste on. Sliding around all over the table. I'm sorry if it's not always in shot, but and I've muted the video and done a voiceover because I was watching another crafter do his live at the same time as creating. I was killing two birds with one stone, multitasking. However, it did lead to quite a vast mistake, as you will see shortly. And so another lesson learned is concentrate on one job at once, and then you don't make mistakes. Had I not been nosy and watching someone else's live and having having a giggle at what they were up to, I wouldn't have made the huge mistake that I make that's coming up very shortly. So I'm now deciding which stencil I'm going to use with my modelling paste. I've got quite a nice little selection of different ones now. There's just a couple of shapes that I really want. I really want a diamond shape, a large diamond shape, or harlequin, as it's more known. And I did used to have one, but I don't know where it's gone. So I decided on the brick wall. I've just literally remembered that I had it. It's a very old one from Stampin' Up. They're actually quite nice stencils, these. They're very sturdy. Quite pleased with them, and they weren't expensive. So I'm just getting a little bit of crackle paste, and I'm just flicking that around using my palette knife, just round a little bit sort of round the edge, and just to blend that napkin a little bit. And you know, it does give you a nice fine crackle when it's dried. It's not massively pronounced, but it's quite a nice, pretty, subtle crackle, and it doesn't take long to dry. So now I'm going for my modelling paste. I'm back to using my Galeria one, because a new one that I purchased from my local art shop, it is like water. So I'm back to using this again. The only problem I've got with this one is I don't feel like it takes mediums very good. It seems to go either poofy or it'll go soggy, and just not, it just doesn't seem to stand them very well. But it'll do for now, and it gives me a nice stenciled look. And once I've done this process, this is where the big boo-boo happens, which you will see in a minute. But yeah, just putting that on, and I'm trying to do it so it's not just in a straight line, you know, so there's some sticking out and some sticking in. Obviously the edge of the page is straight, but the rest isn't. So there you go, and now it's time for the boo-boo, and I'll be with you in a moment. Okay, so we've got a bit of a boo-boo here, and I am blaming a dash of Dave for this, because what happened was I was watching his live over on Facebook at the same time as doing this project, and in between shoots I've forgotten to press the record button, and so we've got a big gap missing. So I'm just going to talk you through it, and a massive apologies, but we've turned out with a lovely page, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered. So I think where we'd left off was I was just doing the bricks here with the modelling paste. So after I'd done those, I dried it thoroughly with the heat gun for quite a while. That's when I forgot to then press record properly, or I've pressed it and it's not stayed on record, whatever. Anyway, so then I have used a mixture of abandoned coral, distress oxide spray and Victorian velvet, but I've not sprayed them. I find it difficult to control when they're sprayed, so what I've done is I've unscrewed the lid and I've used the, you know, the spray tube and dotted bits of it around and about. And then I have gone in with my water spraying bottle and I've sprayed it and I've let it run between the bricks and down the page. So we've got a mixture of those two colours there. And then just to add a little bit of darkness around the edge to frame it, I've used my Inktense, and this is the ink black. So yeah, that's what we've used. And I also did use my Inktense block a little bit for the where you can see it in the brickwork. I just wanted it to look like you know, like old red brick building, and maybe it had opened up and the flowers are coming through the wall. The crackle paste is shown up nicely. You can just about see it here. It's a very subtle crackle, but it is really nice. And then the butterflies that I've chosen here came from a free digit from it's Maramis Small Art. She did an online class and gave us the digitals for free, and these were left over on my desk, and these here are from one of her digitals as well. Okay, so that completes the and then I just edged all the way around with archival ink and a piece of cut and dry foam. So sorry that we missed some of the process, but it keeps happening, so I think I need to keep an eye that when I'm pressing play it is actually playing. Thanks for your patience, take care and see you again soon. Bye for now.